stiff and exhaust all the way open.
Yep, slipping the front wheels.
Good as the second gear's a little better.
Okay. Okay. This is good. This is good.
Hyundai Elantra N. I want a Civic Type R, but I don't own a different black hoodie for every day of the week. Hyundai Elantra N. I'm a weed dealer, but not a successful weed dealer. I want a Honda Civic Type R, but I'm over 30, and ibuprofen is now part of this balanced breakfast. Hyundai Elantra N. I want a Type R Civic, but I don't have time to keep up with the latest colloquialisms. There is logic to the blowjob blocker, because if you have someone who has legs that just go all over the place, like if you have someone you're trying to drive stick and someone has the legs that's always hitting you in sixth gear, this stops people from hitting the stick shift. I remember when, now granted it was a smaller car, when I had my Toyota Echo, and it was smaller and you were next to each other, but I would slap people's legs away from me when I went to shift into fifths. It's like, your leg can't go there. My shifter has to go there. All right, this stops that. I mean, it is.
So, have you ever been in a C8 Corvette?
Yeah.
You know how they have that cascading panel that surrounds the driver?
Yeah.
Guessing here, Hyundai with this performance car wanted to kind of simulate, like, a driver's cockpit. Everything's driver center, so we cut off the passenger here. How do they do it? A 7-cent pice of plastic.
Yeah.
It doesn't autoplay, so I can plug my phone in to bring up CarPlay. That doesn't automatically come on. I'm sure there's a setting. I don't know how to do it.
I have my CarPlay on the star button.
Ooh, smart.
And it just presses that. Now mine doesn't have...
Do you have wireless CarPlay?
No.
Okay, so you have a wireless charge pad, but not wireless CarPlay, which
Same.
is dumb. Like, I'm plugging my phone in.
I've learned this about wireless CarPlay. I've driven a car that has one, and maybe because it's an aftermarket head unit, that wireless CarPlay drains an Apple battery big time. So
yeah, it's
so maybe that's something they're trying to avoid.
It doesn't work great. It's just one of those things. Like my Bronco had it. So
this wouldn't be the easiest car to teach someone to drive stick on. That grabs so fast.
I've stalled this more than any manual car I've ever owned. Like,
really?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, it's just for that reason. It's like, oh fuck.
Why can't a Turbo 4 with a 6-speed manual speak for itself? Why does the marketing department have to ruin a perfectly good pair of pants getting themselves off? Hyundai, here's what you did. You made something great. You made a Honda Civic Type R that's $10,000 cheaper, gets more than 30 miles per the gallon on the highway. So why do you need press releases calling this a hot sedan? Huh? Hot hatches are a thing, but are we really trying to make hot sedans happen? There was one hot sedan. It's the Subaru WRX and WRX STI. So who are we trying to reach here? Because the person this branding speaks to is too busy sitting on a busted washing machine during the spin cycle. The only other person who could find this branding hip are the people who made it, and maybe a tattoo artist whose girlfriend has boundary issues. Hyundai Elantra N, for speeding away from a stage 5 clinger and the inevitable text message bukkake that comes after muting your phone at work. Let's talk about curated experiences. Take the Lexus LFA, or maybe the Toyota ZZW30, the 3rd Gen MR2, or the fabulous Honda S2000s. Those are curated experience cars. There's no options with the Lexus LFA. The only options you have with the Toyota MR2, the 3rd Gen, are do you want a manual or the semi-automatic manual? And with the Honda S2000, again, no options. This car is manual only, and what you get is what you get. Each element of the cars were crafted to elicit a particular response. The best cars are like fine dining. When you go to a fancy restaurant, you're not customizing anything. There is no substitution. There's not even salt and pepper on the table. You don't like capers? Well, too goddamn bad. You take it how we make it or not at all. We're not going to dilute your experience by allowing you to hold the onions. We serve you, but we don't cater to you. We create an experience that you come to us to receive. Either you trust us to deliver that experience or not. You want it your way? Go to Burger King or go to Sheetz or Wawa and just tap that touchscreen and you're here to sit down and let us cook. The Elantra N is the opposite of a curated experience because so much of the experience itself is customizable. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. Let me reiterate, there is absolutely nothing wrong with modification, customization, or adaptability, or a million different settings all throughout this touchscreen. But sometimes a car will go so far in the other direction that it feels like you're not sure what experience you're supposed to be having. Versatility is great, but sometimes you just want the feeling you're experiencing somebody's vision. Somebody had a plan. It might not be what you're expecting, but there's excitement in being challenged, being forced outside of your comfort zone. In some ways, options are the death of focus. We have a touchscreen here that lets you futz around with steering, suspension, rev matching, exhaust sounds. And in a vacuum, those things are nice options to have. It's nice to have that kind of freedom. But it feels like there's a better car here, and trial and error is the only way to find it.
You can customize. You can have the engine on full kill and exhaust in quiet too.
Oh, can you?
Yeah.
You gotta go through some menus to do that.
Yeah. So
can you do that on the fly?
Let me see. Oh.
Yeah, I know, right?
Maybe. Nope.
That is pretty loud out the back. Yeah.
Such as it seems to be the obvious way to enjoy this car is to have steering set to normal. Obviously, all performances turn to max, but the baffles have to remain closed in the exhaust. Hyundai Elantra N. When you wanted a WRX, but decided it's better to cash in on one insurance check once this thing gets stolen. Maybe I'm just tilting at windmills here because this car doesn't give you a whole lot to talk about. You will go fast in this car. Yes, it is quick. And it's not that much money. And it gets good fuel economy. So I guess this car sort of begs the question of why Korean cars aren't more popular in the West. I mean, there's plenty of them on the road, but so many other aspects of Korean culture have made their way over here and also have been embraced for what they are. From K-pop to Korean cinema to Korean soap operas, Korean barbecue, obviously. And it seems like Hyundais and Kias only matter to car thieves and certified nail technicians. There is a sticker on the idler pulley. Just going for a ride there.
Really?
Yeah, just going around. Right there. I'll peel that off?
Yeah.
Or do you want to just keep it in there?
Nah, I could probably go away, can it?
Alright.
There we go.
What is it?
So, there's a little barcode on there. Don't know. I think it might should be trash. Because there's no air underneath the engine. You can see the ground straight down.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we just kicked up somewhere.
Hmm.
No clue. Or Hyundai quality shirts. One of them.
Yeah. I mean, I own a Kia. I own a Niro EV because it's an appliance. It's the car. It's a refreshing piece of pickled ginger in between whatever aggressive cars I'm driving this week. In a showroom, the Hyundai Elantra N will look more expensive than it is, but this Elantra isn't a high-end car any more than a colostomy bag is an aftermarket modification. And yet, this car has the capability to do more for its brand than it's doing. The design isn't groundbreaking. Sure, there's some angular designs here, but it's not an ugly car either. And it feels different from most gasoline engine Hyundais. Maybe because they hired the former chief designer of the BMW M5 to work on this. It would explain the un-Hyundai-like feeling of the tuning, the acceleration and the cornering at least. It feels like it's part of a reinvention for Hyundai, in the same way the Stinger felt like a mission statement for Kia, and the way the Vision 74 is the ultimate blue ball cock tease. Hyundai can be more than just the Spirit Airlines of the open road. Every year at the New York Auto Show, the World Car Awards are held, and the Ioniq 5 and Ioniq 6 won back-to-back awards for the World Car of the Year in 2022 and 2023 respectively. The Ioniq 5 didn't pull off a hat trick at the most recent awards in March, but it still took home World Performance Car of the Year. And even considering that awards are subjective, that's still pretty impressive. And again, it speaks to the value of curated experiences. The Ioniq 5 was, and in some ways still is, nothing like the majority of cars on the road right now. It has this unique cyberpunk feel, style, and performance. It's saying, we're allowing you to enjoy our thing. We're bringing K-pop over to you, but we're not translating it. You're going to enjoy it how we enjoy it. We're letting you past our velvet rope. Just remember, this is our party, and we want you to have fun. It's not really a philosophy that fully carries over into this Elantra. It's a good car for the price point, but it falls short of being a truly great car because it struggles to get past the popular conception of Hyundai as a brand that isn't worth your time. Which is weird because the Ioniq 5 is that curated experience that people love, and it has the same badge. So let's get into literary theory. There's this thing called cognitive narratology, and it looks at how people receive a story rather than looking to its structure to derive how it impacts human perception. And I haven't forgot about the forbidden joke that's coming, and don't worry, it also ties into cognitive narratology. In a less fancy way, cognitive narratology explores how people use stories to make sense of their world. A Hyundai Elantra isn't a story itself, but it has a story behind it. And that story affects what people make of it. Because really, you're just extracting purpose from a narrative. And the narrative for a long time was, Hyundai isn't a good brand. It's a lesser Honda. Has the same letter, doesn't it? It's a poorly made economy car with all sorts of issues that screw over the customer. That was the story for years. There was a class action lawsuit over engines consuming excess amounts of oil, and a recall over the anti-lock braking system causing potential fire hazard. Right now, they're dealing with a major class action lawsuit over allegedly failing to install immobilizers on some models, resulting in those cars getting stolen. Never mind that they landed in the bottom 5 for customer satisfaction for J.D. Power back in November, which I guess is an improvement over coming dead last, like they did last March in the U.S. Customer Service Index. When being bad is your brand, it's a hard story to overcome in the court of public opinion. And yet, in ways, they did, with the Ioniq 5 and Ioniq 6. And, if you believe the forums, the Elantra N does this as well. This car helped to get the ball moving, turning perception in a different direction, on changing the narrative. You steal people from BMW and Audi, you poach better engineers and designers, you start getting more ambitious with the cars you make, aiming upmarket but still carving out a space for your economy bread and butter. Great plan. You pick up the slack where other automakers stumble so you can fill in a niche that needs filling. Because this is one of the more affordable options in the performance segment. And that should, in theory, get a lot more people giving this a try over time, especially if and when they become available on the used market. The lesson with Hyundai is that change takes time. Even now, when they're supposedly better, they're still a long way from being viewed as a brand worth taking seriously. Maybe better cars isn't enough, although the 10-year warranties certainly help talk people into giving them a chance. Sometimes you just need to do something consistently and for a long enough time for that story to change, for public perception to catch up to the reality of what you're doing, rather than clinging to a past that's vapor. All right, I'll try your custom button. Oop, yeah, it wanted to. It's almost like it wants gas in first.
Yeah, it's tough. The weekend I bought it, I stalled out in the middle of Baltimore.
Ooh.
It was fun.
That is pretty loud out the back.
Dude,
Yeah.
driving in a tunnel, like it'll sound like a shotgun going off. There's a famous story like last year or something like that. A guy in California was riding around with the exhaust baffles all the way open.
In one of these?
Yep. He got pulled over. It's stock exhaust, factory exhaust, just with the baffles open. He got pulled over and written up for exceeding California's exhaust noise limit. It was like 95 decibels or something. He was not allowed to register his car.
A stock Hyundai Elantra N.
Yes.
So was there any response from Hyundai?
I honestly don't remember.
Yeah. How did the story end?
He had to sell his car.
Interesting.
California couldn't register it there. So the manual isn't as crisp as a Honda, but what is? The seats are more comfortable than the Type R, but most are. Anyway, I enjoyed the car. It's definitely a bargain. Drives really well and gets good gas mileage. Have fun driving it. So, see like how this cockpit, it has a bunch of, what appears to be a bunch of screens?
Yeah.
There's two small ones, one right in front of the steering wheel and one above like the HVAC controls. Then there's this panel right here that does absolutely nothing.
Wow.
It's just plastic. There's
disgusting and shameful. I rebuke this.
like it's there to make it look like there's a whole cockpit full of screen, you know what I mean? And then it's nothing.
A sticker.
This is a sticker.
It's basically Star Wars
sticker.
Battle Pod, like the arcade game. Of just like you go and sit down in it, and it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm in a TIE fighter.
Yeah.
Or an X-Wing. It's when my nephew was a kid, smaller, when I used to take him around in his stroller, he had this little steering wheel that was not connected to anything, but it made noise. Like you hit buttons and it makes vrooming noise. So I just would give him the steering wheel and then just push him around in the stroller, and it's just like, and it's like they're kind of trying to create that same vibe with this of just like you're a kid again, you're imagining what it's like to be driving something that is more maybe like futuristic or advanced than you actually get to, whereas the just being it brings to mind being a kid who gets like an empty box to play with.
You're just trying to say the nicest things about this bullshit. You're an idiot. What this reminds me
I
of,
thought I was being harsh.
this is like Ford when you didn't get the tachometer options on those old slab nose front trucks. They just put like a bunch of lines, like a targeting reticle. That's this. What is this? An artificial horizon? An inclometer? Inclometer? It's just a circle with a thing. Oh, here's a. You know what? If you just did, because okay, Hyundai can do stuff with negative space, and they did it in the Ioniq 5. There's an empty space in there, and it's just a piece of metal that you can then, quote unquote, attach your phone. If you have a magnetic back to your phone, it can fit there. So you can, we're not saying you could put your phone, I'm spitting. They could have done that here. Just a piece of metal, plop your phone right there. But no, we have to have whatever that is.